What's up, everybody? It's Catfish on Ice. Welcome in. Got plenty to talk about. And of course, we've got Rich Howe back.
I'm back.
How long have you been gone, man? Like, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now?
1 or 2
months?
I don't remember.
Months,
I don't
3
know.
months? How long have you been gone?
I don't know. I have literally been sick since the day before Thanksgiving. And it's just, I sound like Barry White a little bit, but other than that, I'm good.
And guess what? Just like the rest of the Predators hockey team, you got to battle through the injuries. You got to battle through it for this episode.
I'm feeling pretty good, unlike the Columbus Blue Jackets fans probably right now.
Oh,
getting torched.
How are you going to bring that up, man? That's wrong.
Man.
For the one Blue Jackets fan that might listen to this podcast, you just really just dug a stake into their heart right now. What is the score in that game right now?
Well, it's over right now. It finished. It wound up being 9-4. I was watching it. So the Blue Jackets scored 6 goals in the first period, and Tage Thompson had 4 of those 6, and then he scored another one. He wound up with 5 of their 9 goals.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's insane.
So speaking of which, you guys want to laugh a little bit. All right, so Catfish on Ice Fantasy Hockey League is very much alive and well. Rich, try not to laugh too hard at me here. Going up against our co-host Kyle, who's going to be joining us here shortly. Kyle Perkins. Me and him were going up against each other this past week.
Yep.
It's a daily fantasy hockey league, so up until Sunday, you can make lineup decisions to try to win. And me and Kyle were within like 10 points of each other. And I was losing, and so I decided to make a last day decision to try to win against Kyle, the defending champion of the Catfish on Ice Fantasy Hockey League. And guess who I signed?
Who's that?
A certain Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender named Eunice Corpusalo.
Oh.
And I forgot to take it. I forgot to take him out of my lineup tonight.
Oh,
he had to come in relief tonight of Merzlikins.
No, it was the other way around.
It was the other way around, really?
Corpusalo started, and he got lit up for 4, and I think 4 in a row, and then they pulled him for Merzlikins, put him in, and then he got torched too. But
it says Corpusalo gave up 3 goals on 6
3.
shots.
Okay,
so 3 on 6 shots faced for a negative 5.44 points is what
that
I
hurt
out of Corpusalo. Yeah, so not a great way.
So last week, I wanted to bring this up. I have Connor McDavid, and I think we all remember I accidentally picked him. I actually wanted Austin Matthews, but I'm glad that it worked out. But Connor McDavid got me 91 points last week. 91. One player. That's amazing.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Love
it's a good league.
It is.
It's close.
It is close.
It's very close. But, I'm kind of kicking myself right now for signing Corpusalo to my fantasy team. I can't drop him fast enough.
For sure. Yeah, Columbus is in a world of hurt. So, hey, man, there's Mike Twitter. He's ready to talk some Preds.
Let's talk some Preds. All right, we have plenty to get into, everybody.
Justin's in here. He said, who's that guy on the right? It's me. I'm back.
They all missed you. We all missed you.
Thank you.
This is episode 1. This is episode 162 of Catfish on Ice, presented by DraftKings, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. You see down at the bottom of the screen right there, promo code THPN. We'll tell you more about DraftKings later in the episode. Let's tell you what we're getting into tonight on episode 162. Opening face-off. We got to talk about the big news here. The first significant injury to their core the Predators have faced. And I got some blowback on this on Twitter when I said that, because they said, what about Mark Borowiecki? That is a very fair response. He is a very important core player. So I did say that is a fair response, but he is not a top end depth chart type of player. And quite frankly speaking, up until 23 games into the season now, Ryan McDonagh is the first significant injury that the Predators have had to navigate through.
Absolutely.
So we're about to really find out what this team's made of, because it happens to every team eventually. Just look at the Colorado Avalanche right now. Has anyone seen what the defending Stanley Cup champions are going through right now? They are losing core player after core player left and right. So
they're actually on a 2-game losing streak, and they are playing the Bruins tonight. So that's not.
They just lost Nathan McKinnon for probably a month.
Wow! Look who it is, boyos.
Kyle's in here.
If I could not have to do emergency technical support every time we go to record, that would be fantastic.
It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen eventually.
Oh, so yeah.
Your camera was on the
What is it, Kyle? Kyle, we're at episode 162. I think at episode 200, you won't have any more technological issues.
If you wait till after tax time, and I'm going to buy a bunch of new stuff.
There you go.
That's all right. I can't even speak right tonight, so it's not even technology for me. I'm just fumbling my words left and right. So
it's all good.
All right, Kyle. I was just telling Rich. Rich, welcome back, man. By the way,
thank you.
We've got the full crew back tonight, everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it feels so great. It feels so great to have the crew back. We have some awesome listeners commenting already on the episode. If you're new to the show, don't be shy. Get in on this episode, because guess what? We're about to talk about a lot of really big topics right now affecting the Nashville Predators. Opening face-off is going to be about Ryan McDonagh. We're going to cover some NHL trade rumblings that are going on around the league. It's not just directly affecting the Preds, but just a lot of big-time players are going to be moved. The NHL trade deadline this year is going to be very interesting, but it's going to happen way before that March trade deadline. How do Predators fit into that? We've got to do our division power rankings. We haven't done those for a while now.
A little bit.
The battle for the Central Power Rankings. And I think it's a good time to bring back clutch performers, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, there's been a couple the past few games.
We kind of scrapped the clutch performers there for a few episodes because they were losing all the time. But
they were horrible.
Guess what, guys? The Predators have won 7 of their last 9 games, and one of those 2 losses was in overtime to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
Granted, that game they probably should have lost in regulation. The Lightning pretty much ran circles around them. They were lucky to get a point, and there were some other wins where it wasn't pretty.
But 2 points is 2 points.
2 points is 2 points, exactly. So they've won 7 of their last 9. They're right back in the middle of the Central Division muck. I'm going to call it muck.
Well, that's their happy place, being right in the middle of the division. So
I look at the Central Division, like if you walk through a swamp or a nasty creek, and there's all this seaweed or whatever you want to call it. I'm down in Florida now, so I guess I call it seaweed. But wherever you're at in this country, if you go into a creek and you find the muck, that's kind of what the Central Division is right now. So we're going to try to sort it out with our power rankings tonight. It's going to be, I don't even know where to start, honestly.
It's a mess, that's for sure.
But it'll be fun. We'll cover some other things. I want to kind of lightly touch on how one Nashville professional sports team decided to fire their general manager out of nowhere. What is that? Yeah.
I didn't expect that at all.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah. I saw Robbie Stanley, who, he probably knows a thing or two about Nashville sports. He was even shocked.
What does that mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of want to ask you guys, we'll close the episode out with that actually. Yeah. What do we think about that as it pertains to David Poile and the Predators? Because even though they're 2 completely different sports, obviously, it you've got fans who cheer for both teams. Obviously, like you got a large chunk of Nashville sports fans who cheer for both teams. Yeah. So we will kind of try to dissect what that means. But let's go ahead and get into our opening face-off of episode 162 of Nikki? Catfish on Ice. And let's go.
Nikki, boys.
What's up, Nikki?
Hello, Nikki.
What's up, guys? We love you. Thank you for joining us here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button right now for anyone who's
notifications.
Watching on YouTube right now. The subscriptions really help out a lot. All right, so Ryan McDonagh goes to the injured reserve. It's the first significant injury to this core that the Predators have had to deal with. The initial report is 2 to 4 weeks. That is the injury designation of death, if you ask me, because who knows what that means. He could be out. He could be out for 2 weeks. He could be out for 4 weeks. He could be out longer. We really don't know. The NHL is one of those leagues where they really aren't very forthcoming when it comes to how long a player is going to be out for. So I don't feel good about it. Honestly, we don't really know how long he's going to be out for. He took a puck to the face in that Islanders game.
And he took one the game before that, too.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Was it the game? Was it the
Devils
one right
game
before
the night before? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the night before. He took another one that night.
I think this one had a little more heat on it, though.
Yeah, it was a direct shot off a good shot. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And so you're talking about a guy in Ryan McDonagh who is the ultimate warrior when it comes to doing the things that this Predators team is going to feel it. They're going to feel it. And I'm very scared of what the result's going to be because this team is already very shaky when it comes to defensively speaking right now. And they were finally starting to figure some things out. Let me just throw this out there. And if for anyone who follows me, maybe they already saw my tweet. And I couldn't believe this. The McDonagh Roman Josi pairing have played 126 minutes together. They were kind of matched together later on as John Hines was trying to put these puzzle pieces together and whatnot. 126 minutes together, 0 goals given up while they're on the ice.
Yep.
That's a lot of ice time, guys. That's a lot of ice time.
That is a lot of ice time. And it
they
just
have
goes
been absolutely elite.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. It shows you the eliteness of those two guys together. I know that they, started the season and they wanted Ekholm and McDonagh to be a line, and Ekholm apparently couldn't adjust to being on the right. But Josi seems to not have any problem with it at all. So, he needs to get back quickly, very quickly.
And then moving further down the depth chart, guys, Ekholm and Carrier have also played pretty well together. If you look at some of where they're ranking among the defensive pairings, they do pretty well in expected goals against per 60 minutes, according to Money Puck. They're top 5 in the league among defensive pairings. That's a pretty good number there. So now you have to figure out, with McDonagh out, a big player like that out of this lineup, and you're moving the rookie defenseman Jordan Gross back in. And I'm going to go to Kyle first, and then we'll go to Rich, and then I'll kind of give you how I feel about it. Where are you putting – if you're Coach John Hines right now, Kyle, where are you putting Jordan Gross?
I'm probably going to put him on the third line just because you want Josi to have somebody he's got that familiarity with. Or actually, you know what? I take that back. I put him on the second line with Ekholm. Because you want Josi to be somebody he's really been good with. When you break it down, Fabro's been really good with Lazan. Well, really good for Dante Fabro. I'll leave that for another time.
Oh, gosh. All right.
Y'all know my opinion on Dante Fabro.
Yeah.
But anyways, I won't beat that dead horse anymore.
No, beat it. Beat it to death.
He gets blown by like he's standing still and half asleep at least once a game, and it just drives me absolutely insane.
Yep.
I'm so tired of seeing it with him with his mouth open, standing there watching a forward go by him.
It's not pretty at times, that's for sure.
He makes Jeremy Lauzon look like a superstar defenseman.
Well, hey, I love that you say that. I love that you say that, Kyle. And real quick, it's going to get into the next segment when we talk about these trade rumblings. Dante Fabro is coming up in national articles. I'm talking like from national websites that don't directly cover the Predators. They're starting to write about how Dante Fabro is a reasonable trade chip. We'll leave that for the next segment. So everyone stay tuned throughout this episode for that. But I could not believe some of these articles that I am reading from national pundits when it comes to Dante Fabro and how they think his trade value is what it is.
That's crazy, though.
If you're wondering why I just had the big sad on my face, I've got the Admirals game on right now. And Askarov was working on a shutout. And he had one hit the tip of his glove, go straight up in the air, come down, hit him on the back of the head, and go in.
That's a bummer.
He's been absolutely just dead on. The shots are literally 17 for Milwaukee and 34 for Rockford. And he was pitching a shutout with 5 minutes left in the third.
Wow.
Well, hey, can I just say this? The Preds have 99 problems, but a goaltender isn't one.
Ain't that it?
It is not.
Can we fit that on a T-shirt?
We probably could.
It would be big, but it would still look cool.
All right.
For sure. That's absolutely true.
But anyways, I'd like to see Carrier back with Yossi, just for that familiarity. And Matthias Ekholm is a proven good guy at being able to help a younger defenseman come along.
There you go.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
All right. We all came to Kyle's TED Talk. All right, now let's go to Rich's TED Talk on this.
So yeah, it makes sense that it would be Yossi with Carrier. I read somewhere on Twitter, I don't even know who said it, but that I guess Gross is kind of a little bit of an offensive defenseman, and they mentioned putting him with Yossi, even though that would be
I don't know if that was me. I was probably one of a lot of people who said that, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
honestly,
I would try it out just to see what happens, because you're the other two pairings are going to be held down pretty good. So
here's my thing on it. So Jordan Gross is definitely an offensive-minded defenseman. And he's already played 3 games this season. He scored 2 goals in 1 game. Here's my thing about it. And I want people who maybe they casually watch the team and they're worried about a rookie defenseman coming in. And they're going to probably just scold this guy as soon as he makes his first really bad mistake and it leads to a goal given up. It's going to happen.
Yep.
He is a very raw defensive prospect. But with that same thing, he also brings an offensive element to his game that Dante Fabro doesn't bring. I can promise you that. Nope. Jeremy Lauzon does not bring to the table. And even a player like Ryan McDonagh doesn't necessarily bring an offensive element to his game. But obviously you're taking a hit by swapping out Ryan McDonagh for Jordan Gross. No one is going to argue otherwise. Yep. But I do think that they can survive the next month. Let's say worst case scenario, Ryan McDonagh is out for that 4-week long designation there, and we don't get him back until January sometime. That's a long time. There's a lot of games coming up on the schedule. And so I think initially it's a big risk, but I am putting Jordan Gross with Roman Josi. And I am hoping that Roman Josi can pick up the slack a little bit and be the captain that he is. And that hopefully Jordan Gross can flash a little offense, which he's already done. He scored 2 goals in 1 game.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Didn't he score 2 whenever he was up?
In 1 game. Yeah, he's got the flashes. He's got the ability. But he's also probably going to make his fair share of defensive mistakes. This team doesn't really need that right now, but you're stuck with what you have. You're going to have to live with it. It kind of scares me to shake up Ekholm and Carrier because they've been building up a lot of chemistry together as well. Don't even talk to me about moving Fabro or Lausanne up to the top 4. There is not even a discussion about it. And I am one of the biggest Dante Fabro apologists on this freaking show. I am, actually. I have went to bat for him. Biggest. I have went to bat for him for like the last year on this freaking show. Yep. But I'm not moving him. I'm not moving him up to the top 6. I don't feel comfortable with that at all. I feel way more confidence in Jordan Gross than I do Dante Fabro at this point.
But you know that is a definite possibility that they would move him up.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We never know what John Hines is thinking.
Yeah. Plus, you're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. So
rematch. It's a rematch. And the Lightning are getting hot right now. And, it's going to be a tough game. I want to let me ask you guys this as we're talking more about Ryan McDonagh and this, this injury situation here. The Preds have only played 3 games in 14 days. At this point in the season, that is very just not ordinary, not regular. Obviously, the water main break at Bridgestone Arena is the reason why. But, I mean, do we think that's a good thing for this team and what they're trying to work through? I think it is. I lean towards it's a good thing for the team because you're talking about a Preds team that even though they've won 7 out of their last 9 games, they still have a lot of deficiencies and they're still not anywhere near where a lot of us think they should be.
Yeah, the only bad thing is, a couple of those games it took overtime to get and at times they were shaky. Historically, they don't do well when they've had long time off. Unfortunately, so hopefully, that's not going to be the case this time because they're on a 3-game win streak. They've looked a lot better. Still shaky.
And, that win over the Devils. That's their best.
That's big.
That's their best win of the season, guys. I don't know if you agree with me. That's their most impressive quality win of the season is the way they came back and beat the Devils because that was a roller coaster of a game. They scored the first goal in the first, what was it? Like 11 seconds. Ryan Johansson scores. And then I think they went up 2-0 and then they give up 3 goals in less than 4 minutes. They stun UC Saros. And at that point you're thinking, okay, it's the Devils. They're gonna cruise to victory and the Predators are cooked. And then Mikael Granlund scores in the last 10 seconds of the game. Yeah. So the Preds scored in the first 11 seconds of regulation and the last 10 seconds of regulation.
Yeah, and then the Johansson game winner was, everybody, no one expected them to win. New Jersey is who they are. They're amazing. The goals that they scored in the 2.5 minutes, those 3 were just like amazing goals. I mean, it was a really fun game to watch. And you go in and you really didn't have any expectations that they were going to win, but that was a really good game.
Yeah.
Like you said, probably their best.
I think it's their best win of the season for sure.
I don't think it's even close
against the top of the NHL team.
So Mike Twitter lives up in that part of the country, and he went to the game. Yeah. And Mike Twitter says that was the best game I'll probably have ever attended. Yeah, that's what Mike Twitter says.
Yeah, I actually jumped up off the couch when they won. I was that excited. It was a really good game. Because you didn't expect it. Nobody can sit here and say that they expected Nashville to beat the New Jersey Devils.
No.
So
just kind of going through some of these things here. So as I mentioned, the Yossi McDonagh pairing in 126 minutes together, according to Money Puck here, no goals surrendered as a pairing. That's just incredible to me.
It is.
They also were on the ice for 7 goals for the team. So that's kind of a small sample size, but still 126 minutes is enough to where you're like, to lose that pairing and lose something that you've got working for you during a time when you've won 7 of your last 9 games, that is a very difficult pill to swallow here. And the Predators have to deal with it. And that's what teams have to do this time of year. The Predators are not alone in this. Every team has to deal with these types of injuries. And the Predators have actually been pretty fortunate up until this point when it comes to injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to hang our heads here and be like, oh, woe is me. It's not fair. We lost one of our players. No, you got to figure out a way to deal with it.
Yeah. It could be worse. We could be the Avalanche.
Exactly. I mean, they're basically half their team is AHL guys right now.
Columbus is in that same boat. They've got a lot of hurt guys too.
Looking at McDonagh's some of his stats here, he 48 blocks for the team, which is second on the team, only behind Roman Josi.
2 blocks with the face. Ranks
30th in the NHL, which is pretty high up there considering all the defensemen that are in the NHL. That's a pretty high ranking. He's got 15 takeaways, which is also top 30 in the NHL. And I can tell you right now, here is what really freaks me out the most about losing Ryan McDonagh. The penalty kill has been much better this year. It was an eyesore and a huge weakness last year. The Predators took so many penalties, and you just expected the other team to score 2 or 3 power play goals each game. This year, I've had a lot of confidence in the penalty kill. I haven't necessarily felt that way. And Ryan McDonagh is a big reason why. Well, he's not in there now. Who is going to fill in for Ryan McDonagh on that penalty kill? It's probably, I mean, what do you guys think? It's not going to be Jordan Gross. So who's it going to be? Who's that defenseman that fits in? It's going to have to be Jeremy Lauzon, I guess.
I would say probably.
I think he was already playing on the PK.
So who's it going to be then? Is it going to be Dante Fabro? Was he already on there too? I mean, I have to go back and look.
God, I hope not.
I don't think they have any other choice, Kyle. I mean,
the hot dog vendor.
I mean, what's going on with Mark? Well, first of all, what's going on with Mark Borowiecki? I haven't heard any news on him if he's getting any closer to coming back. It's very like you go out there and you try to figure out what's going on. There's really no news out there on him. So
I'm really worried about Boro coming back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have an Instagram account if anybody is interested, and we follow actually Mark Borowiecki. He put some pictures up the other day. He was like working out at his house, like kickboxing and stuff. So that's a little bit of a good sign, but he's just probably not, cleared to play or anything. But who knows? I'm like Kyle said, I'm a little worried that he doesn't come back at all. He's taking a lot of shots to the head.
So I'm really worried about the penalty kill right now. The Predators, they're not the big penalty-stricken team like they were last year necessarily, and they have shown a lot more discipline in that area this year, which has been nice to see. But losing a player like Ryan McDonagh, that's going to be your biggest loss is in that area because he does block shots and he gets in shot lanes and he makes it harder on opposing power plays to find those shot lanes to just get tee off on UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen. And so we're going to feel the effects of that over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long it is. And the Predators are, even though they've won 7 of their last 9, they're still very much teetering on that spot of irrelevancy right now. I mean, they're in that muck, like I said earlier. So it's not, you're getting into the point of the season now where the good teams separate themselves from the fake teams. So what can the Predators do about that? So it's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough.
Very tough. It's going to be the next few games. Well, I mean, all the games without McDonagh are going to be a good test for where they are and how they can pull together. So.
And I know he's not a flashy player. Like he doesn't do the high. He's past that. He's never been that type of player. Even in his prime, Ryan McDonagh's never been a big he's not Roman Yossi, people. Like he's
Mhm.
not. He's the exact opposite. He is the more traditional, prototypical NHL defenseman. He's not the new age defenseman that Roman Yossi is. So a lot of times people think that Ryan McDonagh is boring and he's not doing the right things. And I will say that, you know, maybe he left a little bit to be desired through the first few games. But if you actually watch the Predators play and you watch him play, this guy is out there, like in the right position, directing the defense, playing quarterback. Not saying that Roman Yossi doesn't do that as well, but Ryan McDonagh is literally a leader on the ice. If Roman Yossi is not on this team, then Ryan McDonagh is your captain. He plays like a captain.
Yeah,
so it's going to be really hard for this team to lose a player like that playing with a very young and inexperienced defense. Let's think about this defensive core now. Without Ryan McDonagh, you've got Matthias Ekholm and Roman Yossi. Outside of that, your defense is very young and inexperienced. Alexander Carrier, still a very young and unproven player, even though we think he has a bright future. Jeremy Lauzon. How many times are you going to bring up Dante Fabro? Okay, you get my point though. And then now you're throwing Jordan Gross in there. You've got 4 of your 6 defensemen are very raw and inexperienced.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at that number you just said, 0 goals allowed in 126 minutes. That's all you need to say right there. That's the impact that he has on that team. Once that they figured out that he needed to be with Roman Yossi. So
yeah, I mean,
it's huge. I mean, it's massive. So it's they're gonna get tested, and this is the test. Starts tomorrow night. So
this is really where UC Saros has to, and I hate to put this on him, but this is really where UC Saros has to step up and be that Vezina caliber goaltender.
Yep.
And also
he has to.
And also Kevin Lankinen, because he's going to get some back-to-back starts. And both of them have been so good over this past month. I mean,
especially Lankinen. Oh my gosh, he's played so well.
Yeah, I mean,
he has earned that. He probably at this point, as long as he stays at the level he's been at, he's earned him a job next year.
Oh, for sure.
No, for sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, it won't be here.
No, he won't be in Nashville next year.
No, he deserves to be a starter right now, and there's a lot of teams out there who could have picked him up over the offseason, and they're kicking themselves right now that they did not sign him as their starter. And then you got David Poyle, who swoops in the dead of the night and signs him as a backup.
Yeah, and we're all like, what?
Why did you sign this guy?
Yeah, I'll totally be honest. I was one of those people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Me too.
I think everybody on this podcast was one of those people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're all like, Connor Ingram, how dare they? But it's worked out. So
tell me how a backup goaltender like Kevin Lankinen is 12th in the NHL right now among goaltenders in goals saved above expected. Total goals saved above expected. Now, there are a couple other goaltenders in this category who also have played around the same amount of games as him. What I'm saying is, as a backup, he is contending with all of the best goaltenders in the league right now.
Yeah.
In that category.
He has just played extremely solid.
He's only got 7 games under his belt. Only 7 games.
I think the fact that he was able to escape the cesspool that is the Chicago Blackhawks, that probably lifted his spirits, man. He's like, hey, I got another chance. I got to. This is my shot. I got to make the best of it right now, and he's playing that way for sure.
So I just looked this up. I think this is a much better metric here. So if you narrow it down to goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, so you take out the starts, you just narrow it down to a sample size of per 60 minutes, which is a normal start. You can kind of get rid of the whole skew of starters and backups. Kevin Lankinen is actually 8th in the NHL right now in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. So he is playing on an unreal level right now through his first 7 games with the Predators, and they're going to lean on him. There's 11 back-to-backs left on this season, and I think it's gotten to the point where you don't just play him on back-to-backs. You have to consider playing Kevin Lankinen even on 2-day breaks. Let's say it's a Tuesday, Thursday scenario. Play Kevin Lankinen on Thursday. Play UC Saros on Tuesday.
I agree 100%. Until something happens and he, if he goes through a bad spot, I would absolutely do what you just said. He's played that well.
So. It's pretty obvious you're not losing anything by starting him. So
and they're gonna have to lean on goaltending to round out this whole opening face-off here about Ryan McDonagh going to the injured reserve. What's the ripple effect for the Predators? They're gonna, quite frankly speaking here, no filter, they're gonna have to really rely on some pretty stellar goaltending from both Saros and Lankinen. They've already been getting it for the past 10 games or so. And unfortunately, as I said, I hate to put this pressure on that team, on those goaltenders, because it's not necessarily fair, but they're going to have to be pretty elite, most likely, unless we see some unforeseen offensive breakout from this team.
That's what I was going to say.
And that could happen, but you're talking about a Predators team that is 29th in goals per game in the league right now. They have dramatically decreased from their goal output last year.
Oh, yeah.
Even though if you look on paper, they probably got better. That's the most head-scratching part about it. On paper, they added more offensive talent.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what's weird. So, it would a combination of goaltending and some other guys stepping into the elite category, one being Philip Forsberg, would be amazing.
You're not going to win a lot of games in the league, and I know they've won 7 of their last 9. That's great. But when you're averaging 2.6 goals per game, that's where they're at right now. 2.6. In today's NHL, that's not going to get it done. That's not sustainable.
Nope.
You're going to have a bad time.
Yeah. That might have been sustainable in 2000.
Yeah.
What's the famous song, Rich? What's the famous song? We're going to party like it's 1999.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the Predators, they're partying like it's 1999 right now. Who sang that? Who is that? Who's
Prince?
All right, yeah. So Prince sang. So Prince is singing "Let's Party Like It's 1999." That's what the Predators are right now.
It's not gonna happen. Yeah, it's not good.
2.6 goals a game would have worked in 1999.
Yeah,
it's not going to work in 2020.
Just ask the Blue Jackets. They scored 4 goals, which is a lot, and enough to win a game, and they got blanked 9-4. So
yeah,
different league.
So that is our opening face-off of Catfish on Ice, episode 162. Thanks for commenting, everybody. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening. If you're listening to the podcast on the next day on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. You can watch the episodes live on YouTube or Twitter. Follow us at Catfish Ice if you want to watch live and comment, or it's perfectly fine to listen to the episode the next day on your drive into work or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yeah, we're flexible.
That works. Well, I don't know if I'm flexible, but we'll leave it at that. All right. Let's get into the next segment here. We got to get into these NHL trade rumblings that are going on.
Just to update, the Admirals are going to the shootout.
Oh, who are they playing again, by the way?
Rockford, the Ice Hogs.
Okay.
Ice what?
Ice Hogs.
They're the Blackhawks.
Hawk. Okay.
They are the Hawks.
The Hawks, but Hogs. Okay. I got you. I'm on the same page now.
All right, let's get into these NHL trade rumblings here. The big one is Brock Besser. He's all over the headlines right now in the NHL. And yes, the Predators are kind of getting linked to him a little bit. Could the Predators crunch the numbers in some way to get a Brock Besser? Yes. crazier things have happened, they could do that. They do have a need for a player that, like Brock Besser and what he brings, his skill set. He's a winger who has a knack for offense and scoring goals. Hello, that's what this team needs. But
we could use another one, yeah.
He's got 2 years left on his contract, and he's not cheap. He is a $6.5 million player. And a lot of the news out there is he is a little overpaid because he doesn't bring a well-rounded NHL game. He's not going to play. He's not going to do what a prototypical John Hines Nashville Predators forward is going to do for you. He is not going to play a lot of defense. He's not going to get in there and get in the rough areas and make hits and block shots and do what Nashville Predators forwards do. But he is a sniper, but he is going to come in maybe a significant trade haul. But if you can figure out a way to send some players to the Canucks that you don't really want anyway, I'm more concerned about the draft picks more than I am what players we lose.
Yeah. You know, as much as I love Ellie Tolvanen,
I knew that was coming up.
And y'all know how many times have I talked about how much I love Ellie Tolvanen.
I mean, we all do.
Maybe a change of scenery would do him good. As much as I don't want to say that, maybe it would do him a little bit of good.
So who are you going to package with him? Like him and somebody
Fabro.
else with some picks? Fabro. I knew you were going to say Fabro. I knew that was coming, and that's viable. I mean, that's a good solution. I mean,
so I don't know if the Preds would be.
But I doubt they take that for.
I don't think the Preds would be cap compliant if they just sent Fabro and Tolvanen. That's the problem.
How much do you have left?
If you look, so Brock Besser is a $6.65 million player right now. So he's gonna hit your cap, and most likely the Canucks are not going to retain salary. I think from what I read, they're not willing to retain salary on him. So you're going to take on that $6.65 million average salary. So for the Preds to make the numbers work, they're going to have to probably unload a pretty significant player. And here's what I come down to. If you really want Brock Besser and you really want to do this, I don't think Dante Fabro is the player you have to. I would like to move him in a perfect world. I don't think the numbers will work out if that's who you're offering. I think you have to offer a combination of Ellie Tolvanen and Colton Sissons.
All right, I'm going to go back to a classic movie of Jurassic Park. They were too busy asking whether they could instead of asking whether they should. Should they? Absolutely not. It's absolutely asinine to trade for a player that you're going to have to most likely give up high round draft picks and younger players for. It's and I would agree for a trade if they were shedding cap. If they were,
they're not going to shed cap in this scenario. That's the problem.
No, you're putting yourself deeper into cap issues.
Exactly.
With this trade.
Do you know how much they have right now?
They're under $1 million. The Preds are under $1 million in projected cap space right now. According to Cap Friendly, they're at 989. They're right under $1 million, give or take 10,000.
Yeah, I'm looking at the contract thing on their website. Fabro is at 2.4 and Colton Sissons is at 2.86.
Yeah, so you're looking at your players here. Even then, you probably can't make it work. Like the Preds they're going to have to deal a pretty significant player here. In fact, I think they might have to. I'll retract that. I think they might have to go. So Fabro's a $2.4 million player right now, and Sissons is a 2.857. So you would probably forget Tolvanen at this point because I don't know if he sheds enough cap for you.
No, he doesn't. I think he's like a 1.75.
Yeah, he's a 1.45.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So, like honestly, you're going to have to deal a veteran to make a deal work for Besser. to get in that cap compliance. And at that point, what are you really doing to improve yourself at that point? Like, is he really that good of a player?
Yeah, you're just kind of swapping a good player for another good player.
So it seemed good at the time when I first started looking into it. I was really excited about it. I've always liked Brock Besser.
He's going to make a dang good pickup for a cup contender.
I just don't think the Preds can make it work.
I think they could, but they shouldn't.
There's only a couple of ways to make it work, really, and that's getting rid of some big boy names.
Yeah,
that we probably don't want to talk about,
and they're not going to do. And that would make no sense to me.
Yeah,
and the only way it would make sense to me, if you wanted to deal one of your big veterans who are making bigger money, $5 million plus. The only way it would make sense to do this is if you're surrendering the fact that it's time to rebuild. And because Brock Besser is a pretty young player, he's 25 years old. Mm-hmm. So you could unload your veterans and go for a Brock Besser and basically say, look, we're going to build around a Brock Besser type of player, see what happens the rest of the season, but we are going to go ahead and surrender and say, it's time to start looking towards the future and start rebuilding this team from the ground up. And we can get a young player like Besser, who's still 25 years old, start building around a big winger. We already have Forsberg for the future. Like, he's not going anywhere. Roman Yossi's not going anywhere. But like your Matt Duchene's, your Ryan Johansson's, their contracts are becoming a little bit more movable at this point.
Well, especially Ryan Johansson's, he's got 3 years left on his. Matt Duchene's got 4 left on his. So, I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's not really many options because their contract tracker says they have 1.1 million, like you said. So if he's a 6.6 whatever, there's just not that many names that you could do to get him. If you're giving up a big player,
unless the Canucks retain some salary on that, right. and I will say that some articles I have read out there regarding Brock Besser, they're saying that the Canucks don't have a lot of leverage in this whole deal because, for one, both sides realize that it's over, basically, like it's a breakup. And it's kind of widely viewed that he's overpaid based on the market. And also the Canucks are very much desperate to get cap compliant right now. And they have to unload Besser to be cap compliant. But so they've got to lose Besser. It's not a matter of, we want to keep – it's not like let's think the Ryan McDonagh situation. The Tampa Bay Lightning did not want to lose Ryan McDonagh. I can promise you that. They had no choice. Not. It's kind of the same situation here. I can promise you that the Canucks front office and their brass does not want to lose a 25-year-old sniper like Brock Besser. But they don't really have a choice. They have to deal him somewhere because they have other players they want to retain, and the whole marriage has gone sour.
Yeah, so, he doesn't want to be there. So,
and they've given his agent permission to start looking at other clients out there. So the Predators, if they could jump through a bunch of hoops, they could make it happen. But I don't think they're a top contender for Brock Besser. In a perfect world, it would be nice to add a player like him because he would solve a lot of problems and fill a major need. But it's probably just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad idea.
It is a bad idea if you look at it for sure. You'd just be trading, a good player for another good player.
And if you want to talk about trading somebody like a Duchene or a Johansson, they're not going to want that trade because that's more money than they're already paying Besser.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Looking at, according to the hockey writers, they listed 3 teams they think Besser could have ended up at: Minnesota Wild, New York Islanders, and they also have the Calgary Flames. So, he's going to end up somewhere good. He's going to end up on a team that's on that playoff bubble that's looking to add some scoring. Again, the Predators just aren't in that boat, unfortunately. They're just, with their cap situation and with where they're at, if they're going to become a better offensive team, they're going to have to do it with the players they already have.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can call back up Philip Tomasino when he gets healthy, which apparently he played for the Admirals tonight.
He played tonight.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Like, the Predators are going to have to do something. Like I said, what their offensive output they're putting out right now is not sustainable. 7 of 9 games winning is a nice, and then it gets them back in contention a little bit, but it's not sustainable. It's just, I don't feel good about it. So we'll have to wait and see how it all works out. What about, guys? How do you feel about Patrick Kane? I've heard Boston Bruins. Rich, how do you feel about that?
Gosh, I don't even know how they could do that, but if they get him, I don't know.
I could see that, and if they do get him, then they've got to be undeniably Cup favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like the Boston Bruins or whatever, but if you watch their games, they're really good. They're like
they play extremely well. They play together extremely well.
They do.
Goaltending
is Linus Ullmark is like leading the NHL in like 3 or 4 categories. He's playing really well. So
also, this is from today from Dan Rosen of NHL.com in his mailbag. Apparently, the New Jersey Devils are also starting to be linked to the Patrick Kane sweepstakes. So
that's entirely possible. They should have room, and they're not shabby at all themselves.
And we all know that the Blackhawks are full in on tanking and rebuild and unloading, and they're in it for the long haul. So they're all about getting young prospects, and the Devils have plenty of young prospects to unload if they're in a win now mode and they're in Stanley Cup mode now. I think that's a risky proposition because you're kind of putting all your chips in one basket and hoping you win now. What do the Devils do if they go out and get a Patrick Kane and they get beat in the first round? What'd you do it for then? You got beat in the first round. But that's how it works. It's always a risk. It's always a risk. So where does Patrick Kane end up is going to be a major, major storyline throughout this season. He's definitely not going to end up with the Blackhawks. He's going to go somewhere. He's arguably the best American-born player to ever play the game.
It's not even very arguable.
Yeah, for all of his off-the-ice issues, and that's something I'm not going to even get into, but just judging the player on the ice, he's the best American-born player ever. And even towards the end of his career now, he can still make a cup-contending team just that much more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we won't say we like him, but
you got to call it like it is.
It's like Sidney Crosby. Nobody likes that dude, but he's arguably one of the best players to ever play, for sure.
And then I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, but Jacob Chikrin for the Coyotes, where the hell is this guy going to end up? It's like I just look at it like, okay, the Coyotes are trying to sell a really this is going to sound kind of mean, but I look at it as, let's say someone's trying to sell a couch and they think that this couch is such a nice fancy couch and anyone should want to have this couch for their living room, and everyone else on the market looks at this couch and they think that couch ain't that nice.
Yeah.
It's not that nice of a couch for what you're asking for.
You flip the cushions over and the cushions are stained.
Yeah.
That kind of couch. Yeah.
I don't know. Like they've been pushing out Jacob Chikrin for like how long now, and they can't get a trade partner for him.
Forever.
It's been a while.
So and they've been saying for so long that the asking price that the Coyotes want is just so outrageous that no team is willing to bite for it.
Yeah, it's poor dude, poor guy. Feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for these guys like him, even Patrick Kane. I mean, like they're superstars, you know, and they're stuck on these teams that are just.
Well, and Chikrin's still a really young player. That's his big draw is you put him on a really good team and he's going to blossom. And he's got Norris Trophy type talent if you put him on the right team, possibly.
Yep, for sure. It's interesting. We'll see what happens.
All right, guys, let's move along here on Catfish on Ice. This is episode 162 with Chad Minton, Rich Howe, and Kyle Perkins. Let's tell you about DraftKings real quick here before we get into our final two segments. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. So right before a game starts, you're on ESPN Plus, you're scanning through all the games, you're figuring out which game you're going to watch for the night. Right before the game starts, get the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our promo code THPN and throw down just $5 on the team you think is going to win that game. Any team you want, any matchup you want. And you'll pull back $150 in free bets if that team wins. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. While the game's going on, you can combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See our show notes below the episode right now for details. If you are seeking gambling help, have a gambling problem, we have contact support available for you to do that. All right, gentlemen, let's do our clutch performers of the week.
All right.
This is going to be tough for me because I'm basically looking at the back-to-back on that Thursday and Friday. That really difficult Eastern Conference back-to-back against the Devils and the Islanders. Two teams that are competing near the top of their divisions. One team had only lost one game since October 24th going into that game, guys. Wrap your head around that.
It's insane. Definitely.
I struggled with this, but I guess I'll start first, and then I'll go to you guys.
You go. Yeah.
My third clutch performer of the week is going to be Ryan Johansson.
Okay.
Because of how he played against the Devils in that game. He came up so clutch. He had one of his best games he's had in a while, individually speaking. He doesn't bring that type of a performance against the Devils. Preds lose that game. They had no business winning that game. In a 7-game series, I feel like the Devils are probably 1-6. But it's not a 7-game series. It's a 1-game series, and the Preds won that game. So Ryan Johansson had 2 goals in that game, 3 points total. Scores in the first 10 seconds, basically, of that game to set the tone. Scores the overtime winner. And then against the Islanders, he didn't score a point, but he was also still a very important player. And we know that Ryan Johansson does a lot of other things as well. He's crucial in the faceoff circle. He's obviously one of those veteran leaders that you lean on. But I put him as the third clutch performer this week just because of what he did against the New Jersey Devils.
That's a good one. For sure.
Can't fault that.
Nope.
All right. My second clutch performer of the week has to be – I'm going to go Ryan McDonagh, guys.
Oh. All right.
Just because of what he did. Okay, so that Islanders game, let's not look at the box score there. When Ryan McDonagh made that save with his face, the Islanders –
that was the game.
Dude,
Yeah.
the Islanders were putting it on the Predators, guys. I mean, it was like we were hanging on for dear life there. The Islanders came out like gangbusters in that third period. The Predators were completely on their heels, just trying to just sit on a lead. The Predators do this a lot. They sit on their leads when they get leads, and it infuriates me. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it is insane.
And they did that in this game. And the Islanders, I mean, you go back and look at this game. The Islanders outshot the Predators 22-7 in that third period.
Mm-hmm.
Second period, they outshot them 18-9. So it was just like a barrage. And even though it was a 4-1 final score, you have 2 empty net goals you're factoring in there.
Yeah.
So that was when the game was finally over and settled. But before those 2 empty net goals,
oh yeah,
Barzell for the Islanders was getting shot after shot. He was shaking his head because he couldn't get a goal. And I got to give Ryan McDonagh a lot of credit because he saved that game from going to overtime. Yeah, he got hurt in that game. 4 block shots in that game. In 18 minutes of ice time before he had to leave down the tunnel. And the Islanders in the game against the Devils, McDonagh had another block shot and another hit. So when we do clutch performers here, we're literally rating guys who perform in the clutch moments. I can't leave Ryan McDonagh out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to bend down and stick your face in front of a puck, that's definitely a clutch.
Yeah. And so that leads me – that's perfect timing because my number one clutch performer, I'm going to give it to Kevin Lankinen because he absolutely carried the Predators to victory against the Islanders in that game, set a career high for saves in a game in that game against the Islanders. And we're talking about laying your body out there in a really scary way. So he made 48 saves in that game. Guys,
career high, I believe.
He sticks his bare hand into the crease because he had lost his glove. Sticks his bare hand into the crease, and you're just like cringing.
Yeah, there's like 4 sets of scissor blades all around your hand while you got your bare hand on the puck. Yeah, it's not good.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And I was watching it live, and I was just like, what is he doing? Like, he is crazy.
When I saw that, it reminded me, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, UC Saros lost his glove, and someone was getting ready to shoot. And he actually put his hand up like he was going to stop the puck. And I was like, what are you doing? For some reason, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, I remember what you were talking about, Rich. I remember that happening.
Yeah. I had a flashback to that. That was crazy.
I mean, that's a loss. If you don't have a quality, reliable backup, and no offense to David Riddick, no offense to Connor Ingram, because, I mean, they're 2, good goaltenders in their own right as far as backups in this league. But I don't think either one of those goaltenders likely are good enough to get the Predators that win. We're literally talking the difference between 2 points in a game. And when it all comes down to it, as this season rolls along, we fully expect that the Predators are going to be clawing for every point they can get in the standings to get back into the playoffs. And I know that makes a lot of Preds fans cringe because they just want them to rebuild. They just want them to – I get all that. But we're stuck with the team we have. And the team we have is painfully average and good, just good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. So
they're right at that middle of the conference. That's their happy place. They love being there.
But when you get a Kevin Lankinen game like that, it's literally the difference between getting 2 points in the standings and coming up with a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to make him my number one clutch performer for that reason, because it's not easy for a backup goaltender who doesn't get a lot of starts to come in and do a performance like that. It's not easy. The dude was so locked in. These were not easy chip shot saves he was making. He was locked in from the start. I remember watching him in that first period and just thinking, wow, Lanky is locked in tonight. Like, he's in it.
Yeah, I hated that he didn't get a shutout.
Yeah, that he good performance.
All right, let's go to Kyle.
You stole all mine.
I stole yours.
You
Same order? Same order?
Same order?
I was probably going to have McDonagh third and Johansson second. But other than that, yeah. For all the same reasons. You know, Johansson, he probably gets crapped on more than any player on the team.
No, for sure.
By most people, especially, we'll say TV fans. So basically, if you're listening to this podcast, this does not apply to you. A lot of fans that just watch what they see on TV don't really know exactly what's going on, doesn't know the value that Johansson brings to the team. He gets crapped on a lot, and it was good to see him have that moment in the sun and be like, hey, I am that good. And then you had, like you said, Chad, McDonagh just laying it all out there. If that doesn't inspire the rest of that team to go out and play and do the hard things, nothing ever will. That is being the perfect role model, the perfect leader. Kudos to Ryan McDonagh.
And that's what you love about this team. That's what you signed him for. It sucks that the end result is that you're going to lose him for maybe a month, but you know, like that's really the essence of this Predators team.
Nikki said Joey getting the love he deserves. That's right.
They all deserve love, Nikki. Even Dante Fabro deserves love.
He ain't gonna get it from Kyle Perkins though.
Wait a minute, hey Kyle, I gotta ask you: Is Dante Fabro the new Ben Harper for you on this show?
No, nothing's ever gonna be that bad.
He literally could like skate backwards, fall down, and break everybody else on his line on the ice at that time stick and still be better than Ben Harper.
All right, fair enough. Cool. I like that. All right, Rich. Are you going to break course here and offer someone new to the clutch performers?
I am. I'm going to offer up as my third Roman Josi for his overtime win against a team they should have beaten anyway. It was a great goal. He put the game away. It was awesome. So the second one, it would be Ryan Johansson.
You talking about against the Ducks?
Against the Ducks.
Yeah. That was a really pretty goal.
It was. Yeah, and that's why, and also I was looking at his stats. He's got like 4 points in the last 3 games. Like he's really, ever since he's been put with McDonagh, stepped his game up.
Well, are we going to talk about the absolute rocket laser of a goal he scored against the Islanders?
That was
that was beautiful.
I mean,
I couldn't even believe it.
The whole terminology is bar down. Like, and the bar down terminology comes from when you slap a shot and it hits the upper crossbar so hard that the puck snaps down behind the goaltender. That's exactly what he did against Sorokin, who is one of the better goaltenders in the league this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, his numbers are insane this year, and he only faced 21 shots that night and only had to make 19 saves. But he, it's a very misleading box score against the Islanders in that game. It was much closer than what the 4-1 score says due to the 2 empty netters. But that goal from Josi was the definition of bar down.
And it was a laser, like you said. And that also, Nikki reminded us of this. That was the game where we had the Roman Yossi messy hair.
And he cut his hair.
Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh!"
So Nikki asked us on Twitter. She tweeted the show and asked us if we would talk about all the heartbreak that's going on in Smashville right now. When it comes to the most beautiful man in Smashville, which is Roman Yossi, and how he has cut his hair and broken the hearts of every person out there in Smashville.
Yeah, he was in that interview, and I was like, first thing out of my mouth was like, he needs to get a haircut. And my wife and daughters, both of them, all of them were like, no, he doesn't. He needs to leave it just like that. And I'm like, hippie. He looks like a hippie. Get a haircut.
Let him be a hippie.
He can do whatever. I mean, he's Roman.
He can do whatever.
I mean, like, he could come out with like a flock of seagulls haircut, and everybody would probably.
Remember in the Behind the Glass documentary or docuseries on NHL Network? Remember one of the first episodes? I know this was dumb because they're all humans, but like when I saw Roman Yossi, like a regular guy driving to work in a car, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, Roman Yossi drives his car to work?
Right. Yeah.
Like all of us do?
Yeah.
Like he's a normal person. Because you just Roman Yossi is that in a really good way. I look up to him like this larger than life, dynamic, great athlete and person and role model. He does so much for the community, such a positive presence for this community and for the team and the organization. And so you see a guy like that. Yeah, he drives his car to work just like the rest of us.
Yeah, I remember. I think we actually talked about it. I was like, we were watching it, and like his garage was kind of messy. And I was like, look at that. Roman Yossi's a regular dude. He's got to clean his garage just like everybody else does, except he's driving a Mercedes $130,000 SUV. So that's good.
Justin says that Forsberg rides a scooter. So who's surprised you more?
He has a very short commute to work. I think he lives like a block or two within Bridgestone Arena, so he can ride his little scooter wherever he wants. He might have a.
Forsberg's also a really big gamer, and I've heard that he will, if you know his gamer tag, he'll actually play online with you.
That's cool.
And and he's really good. And from what I understand, he's a pretty legit gamer.
Yeah, he actually has a gaming sponsorship.
Oh, the headphones?
HyperX, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
All right, so we went off on a tangent there.
We did. I'm sorry.
No, it was my fault. But
Roman Yossi's hair.
We tend to go off on tangents when we talk about the captain, Roman Yossi. So please forgive us for that.
Yeah, so second one would be Ryan Johansson just because of the Devils game. I mean, he played lights out. Started the game with a goal, ended it with a goal, so that deserves the second spot, and then the first is Lankinen for all the reasons we already said. So
nice.
I mean,
it's a clean sweep among all three hosts that Lankinen is number one?
Yes, I agree with that.
All right. Yeah. Goaltender love tonight on Catfish on Ice, episode 162. Lanky gets the number one clutch performer of the week from us. Because of what he did against the Islanders in a game that the Predators definitely probably would have lost if not for his clutchness.
We should print out a certificate and send it to him.
I'm sure he would love that. He would probably hang it. He would absolutely hang that over his mantle. Catfish on Ice clutch performer. That'd be his biggest achievement of his career.
Right up there on his refrigerator.
We're being a little sarcastic here, but either way, Lanky, if you're listening, you're our top clutch performer. He earned it though. He had a great game.
He did, man. It was incredible.
So let's wrap up Catfish on Ice, episode 162. Before we do our Central Division Power Rankings battle for the Central, we haven't done that in a while. Guys, what do you think, and how does it affect how you think about the Predators and David Poile? I know you guys aren't big Titans fans, but it's pretty shell-shocking news around Nashville right now that the other major pro sports franchise, the Tennessee Titans, decided to fire their GM while they are first place in the division, have a winning record for like how many seasons in a row. They were the number 1 overall seed last year. And the owner basically came out and said, that's not good enough for me. We're in the market to win Super Bowls. We're not in the market to make playoffs every year. I mean,
they better not talk to the owners of the Predators because
you can't help but draw the comparisons. And I immediately did that because even though I am a big Titans fan, but I follow the Predators, I cover the Predators, I write about the Predators. So immediately I drew that comparison as soon as I saw this news.
So,
and yeah, what do you think about it, Rich?
So they lost Sunday, right?
They did. It was
they got kind of embarrassed a little bit.
Well, they got embarrassed to one of the best teams in the league, but they also got embarrassed by a player they decided not to sign.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Over the offseason. Yeah.
I think that might have.
It would have been the equivalent if the Predators had not signed Philip Forsberg over the offseason and he went to another team, and when they played that team that Philip Forsberg's on, he went out and scored a hat trick on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of was the same situation.
It was a little weird, but yeah. The good news is with the ownership that's going to be coming in with the next few years, he's actually said, I want to win a Stanley Cup.
I would hope he would want us to win a Stanley Cup. I thought that was the whole point.
I know that Poyle wants to win a Stanley Cup, but like you said, their whole MO is like, they're content with making the playoffs, it seems like. And that's the one good thing is things are probably going to be changing within the next couple of years, but we might, it'll be, he'll come in, and if Poyle doesn't retire, he might get rid of him. I mean, you just don't know. So,
yeah, I mean, it makes you think for sure. Like, what do you think, Kyle? I know, Kyle, you're a Chicago Bears fan. I'm sorry.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
But what do you get from it? We don't have to go into the Titans' perspective of it, but you're seeing two completely different perspectives here from two franchises who reside in the same city.
It's really a difficult thing because the NHL and the NFL are so much different in terms of money.
That's true.
So it's not as huge of a deal if the Preds have a few bad games here and there, and the season's so much shorter. I think that has a lot to do with it too. But I believe the Titans was more of a knee jerk, except for the fact that they had drafted so poorly.
Yeah,
the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I know they drafted that one offensive lineman that was a complete bust, and then some other stuff along those lines.
And they think that there's stuff going on behind closed doors too, which we're not going to speculate about that. But they think that there's some bigger things going on that might come to light later on. Some, a power struggle, if you will, or maybe just some things that. But my point is, yes, they're two completely different sports. One league plays 82 games. The other league plays 17 games. So obviously in the NFL, each loss is magnified. But I will say this, in the end results, you've got two teams who are pretty similar when it comes to being painfully average. Painfully average. They know that, they make the playoffs. Both teams do. They make the playoffs. Neither team has been a last place embarrassment that plays for the first pick of the draft. So the fact that one team, being the Titans, did what they did is kind of eye-opening. And I'm not saying it should impact what the Predators decide to do, because you're talking about two different sports. All I'm saying is it's very interesting, and it makes you think, because there are plenty of diehard Predators fans. We know plenty of them who watch the show, who are fed up with Poyle. They're ready to move on. Yeah. They're done with being average. They're done with being irrelevant. They're done with being a first-round step over team or congratulations, here's your participation trophy for making the Stanley Cup playoffs. Take your ribbon and go home. Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Is that not what it feels like, guys?
Yes.
It is.
It feels like we get the Stanley Cup playoff ribbon.
Not even the Stanley Cup playoff ribbon, just like
well, I mean, they're the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. It's
so.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think what you said though about like the short season that the NFL has, that's probably just
it magnifies things. It magnifies it.
Yeah, like with the NHL having the big longer season, it's not as obvious to the casual watcher, but NFL is a whole different beast, I guess.
All right, guys, let's do our Central Division power rankings. Battle for the Central. We have not done this in a while, so it's going to be interesting. We've passed the quarter mark of the NHL season, so things are starting to kind of take shape a little bit. I will say before we do our rankings that the 6th place team and the 1st place team are only separated by 9 points. The Predators are right now in 5th place with 26 points, 12-9-2 on the season. They are tied with the Avalanche and the Coyotes for the fewest games played in the division. So they've got some games to make up some ground over the teams that are currently ahead of them in the division. So that's good. That's a good thing. That makes you feel a little bit better. With that, let's do our rankings here. I'll start. I think the Dallas Stars are the number 1 team in the division by far. I can't put a peg on the Avalanche right now because they're so injured. At full strength, I would probably put the Avalanche ahead of the Stars narrowly. But I can't go off of what ifs and if you had a fully strength team. I can only go off what I'm getting right now.
What about the Jets?
Will you let me finish, Rich? I didn't even finish my rankings yet. You're already jumping down my throat.
You said Dallas is number 1.
They are number 1.
All right, I guess.
They're tied with the Winnipeg Jets for the same amount of points. What are you even talking about?
I'm looking at this week. You're good. Go ahead.
All right. I've got Winnipeg number 2. I've got the Avs number 3. Good Lord, Rich, you're coming after me hard here.
I am. I'm like,
I'm afraid to give the rest of my rankings. I don't know how Rich is going to react here.
Don't be afraid.
We got the Winnipeg Jets apologist on the show here. I never would have thought that. All right.
Really well, apparently.
Stars number 1, Jets number 2, Avs number 3. And this is where I really don't even know where to begin. Just throw all the teams in a hat and pick them. But
it's tough.
A team like the St. Louis Blues scares me. I feel like they're going to eventually figure it out and get hot. And they've already done that this season. They've gone on waves. They'll win 5 in a row. They'll lose 4 in a row. I'm going to put the Blues number 4. I'm going to keep the Predators at number 5.
Killing me, Smalls.
Wild number 6, because I think head-to-head the Predators are better than the Wild. And they've proven it. They've beaten the Wild plenty of times head-to-head. Coyotes 7, Blackhawks 8.
All right. There you go. All right. So I'm going to go backwards. I got Chicago at 8, Arizona at 7.
No!
All is right. I wrote down all is right. Chicago and Arizona are back at the bottom, just like they were last year. So I put St. Louis at 6 because I don't think they're playing all that great. And this is probably really going to kill you. I have Colorado at number 5. The reason being is they've lost 2 and they are losing tonight to the Bruins. So
with an AHL team, guys, I mean,
I'm just saying, it is what it is. Now, if they, once they get their guys back, they'll figure it out as they always do, and I'm sure they'll get back on track. But
they're getting smoked though. They're getting smoked right now, 4-0.
4-0. Yeah, Olmark's pitching the shutout. So I have Nashville at 4, They're on a little win streak, but now with McDonagh, that all is up in the air. I actually put Dallas third, hoping they're cooling off a little bit because they're 5-2-3 in their last 10.
But even in the games they play really bad, they figure out a way to get a point.
That's true.
And that's the sign of a really good team.
Yeah. So just judging from last week, Minnesota is on a 4-game win streak. So I put them at 2 and Winnipeg number 1.
That's fair. Hey, I think putting Winnipeg number 1 is obviously totally fair.
Yeah.
They've come out of nowhere. They're one of the biggest surprises of the league, I would venture to say, because I think they were a middle of the pack preseason team.
Yeah. They're 7-3-10 in their last.
I mean, they're
7-3-0 in their last 10.
And hey, we all know Connor Hellebuck was the main horse of that team going into the season. We were like, okay, if Winnipeg's going to be good, it's going to be because of Connor Hellebuck, because he's obviously one of the better goalies in the league when he's locked in, and he's a Vezina caliber goaltender, of course. But I mean, they're scoring goals. They've got plenty of goal scorers with Scheifele, Dubois, Kyle Connor. Blake Wheeler is starting to get in on it. I mean, they've got a lot of offensive talent. They're the exact opposite of the Predators in terms of offensive talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, we got to start taking them serious.
There you go.
So I'll go and say the Blackhawks are deservedly where they should be, in the basement.
I thought you were going to say they're number 1. I thought you were starting from the top up.
No. We're going.
And I was like, Kyle, how drunk are you right now?
I've had one beer.
Okay, good to know.
And it was a Weiss, so it's not like
good to
a
know.
lot.
All right, you didn't make the Blackhawks number 1, so I don't have to be too worried about you.
No. So then we'll go to the Coyotes. I'm going to put the Avalanche next.
Good man.
Okay. I see power rankings as what do you got this second?
Yes.
We look at power rankings completely different on this show, but it's okay. It makes it fun.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm going to use another of my famous analogies. If you have a Ferrari and the engine kicks a rod out the side of the block, is it still as powerful?
Absolutely.
Because that is the Colorado Avalanche. That engine has kicked a rod straight out the side of the block, and they ain't doing nothing. They have no power, so thus they fall in the power ranking.
Oh, all right.
There you go.
All right, then I'll go with the Blues.
Blues number 5.
Yeah, because they could do something, they could not do something.
Yeah.
They're in that mucky middle. Then I will go with.
Where the hell do you put the Preds? I had the same conundrum, man. I was like, I don't even know where to put this team anymore.
I mean, if you look at the last 10 games, the Preds and the Jets are 7-2-1 for Nashville and 7-3-0 for the Jets. So if you're going by the last 10 games, which I think would be suitable for a power ranking, they're in the top 2 of this division. Do I think they're in the top 2 of this division? Probably not. So I'm going to put the Wild in 4th just because I don't trust them. I don't trust the Minnesota Wild.
I don't either. We're on board with each other there.
And then I will go with Nashville 3rd.
Good man.
Man, I wasn't expecting the Jets to be as good as they are, but Connor Hellebuck is a perennial amazing goaltender. So if they put anything decent out in front of them, he's going to – Connor is a Pekka Rinne caliber goaltender, so he can will a team that's probably not as good to win in a lot of games they shouldn't win. But that said, I'm going to have to put the Jets in second, and I'm going to roll with the Stars as number one. I mean, Jason Robertson is having a year. Ottinger is having it. I mean, he's young, but God, he's putting in work. Just, I hate saying this so much, and I apologize, Nikki, but this is the most painful thing I've ever said. I'll put Dallas Stars as my number one on this power ranking.
You got to put the personal feelings aside.
It is what it is. Facts is facts.
Facts is facts.
It was a pretty busy night in the NHL. As you see below, Bruins roasting the ass 4-0.
As they should.
Oilers are running the Coyotes out of the building 6-1. No surprise there. Rangers beating the Golden Knights 1-0. Canucks beating the Sharks 2-1. Capital. How about the Philadelphia Flyers? We're talking about a team that was surprising everybody to open the season, and now they're just a complete mess. John Tortorella is not even taking questions in post-game press conferences and pissing off the local media and
Couldn't
everything.
imagine.
Are we surprised by this?
Couldn't
No,
even
we're not.
imagine the locker room conversations.
And then the
that he had with those guys.
the Buffalo Sabres decided to bust out for 9 goals to beat the Blue Jackets. And then the Minnesota Wild lose 5-3 to the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I missed
So if you're looking at your standings right now, like I said, Preds are 7 points out of first. They've played fewer games than everyone in the top 3. So the Jets, Stars, and Wild have all played more games than the Predators. So you have to look at that. So the Predators are right there in it to make a move.
that. Mhm.
Obviously, losing Ryan McDonagh hurts. So they're going to have to really dig deep here. Looking at the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights are starting to build a little bit of a division cushion here with 39 points. Seattle's in second. The Kings are in third in that division. Then if you're going over to the Eastern Conference, which I think the Eastern Conference is hands down better than the Western Conference, top to
for
bottom.
sure.
It's not even close, in my opinion. So you look at a team like Boston. Boston has 4 losses on the season if you're counting overtime.
Mhm.
23-1, and they're only 3 points ahead of second place.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They've
Now,
got the Maple Leafs right there on their heels.
Now, if you look in the Metropolitan, that's a whole other ball game right there.
That division's wide
Point
open.
wise,
That
Yeah,
division
bro.
is so wide open.
Jersey's got 43, and Carolina's in second place with 34 points.
Yeah, but I could see that division getting closer as the season
Yeah.
goes
Oh,
on.
yeah. Absolutely.
I could see Carolina making up that gap. I could see Pittsburgh hanging around. I could see the New York Rangers working their way back into it.
Mhm.
The Rangers
Yeah.
have been a huge disappointment. Igor Shesterkin has not been
Yeah.
his normal self this
Yeah.
year.
They started off pretty good, but yeah, I think your Stanley Cup winner is going to come out of the East.
It's just a top to bottom. It's a much better division.
Yeah, for sure. The games are actually really exciting. I watched the Boston Vegas game the other night. And that was one of the best games I've watched in a long time. It went to a shootout actually, and Vegas won, but it was really good. Lots of action.
Yep.
Good game.
Fun stuff, guys. It's great to have the crew back. It's been a really, really fun,
Yep.
exciting episode. Again, everybody, please hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube right now, or if you're watching on Twitter, hit the follow button at Catfish Ice. Comment all of our posts, retweet, comment on the live shows. It helps the show grow. It helps us grow the Predators Hockey Talk. We appreciate all of you on that. A couple things. Later this week, I will be doing a short episode with Mason, who covers the St. Louis Blues ahead of the matchup with the St. Louis Blues. We're going to do a preview episode for Catfish on Ice this weekend ahead of that game. So that will be fun. So stay tuned for that. We'll put that on all of the podcast platforms. Until then, the full crew will be back next week for a new episode as we get closer and closer to 2023, guys. This year flew by.
It's insane. It's insane. For sure.
It really is.
All right, guys. Hope y'all have a good night. Thanks
Yep.
for watching, everybody. This has been Catfish on Ice, episode 162. We will see you this weekend for a new episode, and we'll see you next week with the full crew back. Brought to you by DraftKings and part of Hockey Podcast Network. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good one.
See y'all.